evening and welcome to the Perspective 24, where we bring you in-depth analysis of the world's most pressing issues. I am MP Julius Milei, your host, and tonight we explore critical global topics that shape our society. Here is a look at what is coming up. The factors influencing human settlements, challenges facing multilateral organizations, the causes and effects of international migration, and the impact of climate change. Our first major story tonight, we focus on human settlements. As cities expand at a very high rate, informal settlements continue to grow, raising concerns about housing, infrastructure, and public services. But what is driving this trend, and how can it be managed? Perspective 24's Christine reports. So Christine, my first question to you is, are affordable houses a solution to informal settlements?
Kenya is experiencing rapid urbanization, and with that comes the rise in informal infrastructure. Today, we take a look at the challenges that families are facing and what the government is doing to avert that.
Joining me in studio to discuss this topic is Mr. Steven Olesampao, a real estate investor. So, Mr. Steven, what are the main factors influencing the growth of informal settlements in Kenya today?
For now, at this moment, one amongst the factors that are influencing the growth of informal settlements in Kenya include and not limited to the rural to urban migration. We have so many economic pressures that are happening, which are forcing people to shift into informal settlements for them to be able to meet their basic needs. We also have a high population growth that is rapidly growing over time, which just but to mention, those are a few of the items or a few of the factors that are leading to the increase in informal settlements.
How is urbanization affecting infrastructure and public services?
As urbanization continues to grow, so to say, or to flourish mostly in the major cities, there is a huge strain in the available resources, for instance, the roads, the sanitization, water supply. More often you get such kind of the services get strained. So rampant or a rapid increase in informal settlements causes a strain on some of these natural resources that are supposed to be enjoyed freely.
What policies are in place to ensure sustainable housing for all?
At the moment, through our Kenyan government and in conjunction with the Vision 2030 and the Affordable Housing Program, which those are some of the implemented actions that are being taken by our government, and through the PPP, that is the public-private partnerships, to ensure that these issues of human settlements are settled and once and for all.
How can public-private partnerships improve housing conditions?
Thank you. In my sole opinion, I think over time, yes, these institutions are really trying their level best. But due to some of the straining factors, for instance, the political influences, whereby there are so many threats to some of these institutions towards leaning to a particular side of making decisions, make it a bit of a challenge. But over time, even with the influence of the social media, the internet and everything, slowly we are adapting to that free and fair airing of views. And I think in due time, it will fully be achievable.
We have this housing space where it's seen as an investment area. So, and investors are after returns. Everyone has been the high-end market and leaving the low end and the middle class and all the way down to struggle for the informal housing. One of the major concerns why we are not building affordably is our costs, our cost of construction. If we can begin to lower these factors of production, that leads to cheaper construction materials.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you, Mr. Steven, for sharing your thoughts. In our next major story tonight, we are focusing on multilateralism. From peacekeeping to economic aid, multilateral organizations have long played a vital role in global stability. But are they still effective in addressing today's challenges? Perspective 24's Sian brings us more.
Multilateral organizations play a key role in solving global issues, but face criticism for inefficiency. However, they still provide a platform for countries to collaborate and air their global challenges.
We are joined in studio by Ms. Njeri Thuo, a global affairs an international migration expert. So my first question to you, Jerry, is what role do multilateral organizations play in addressing global challenges?
So multilateral organizations provide a platform where states and other relevant stakeholders in the international system can find a forum to discuss possible solutions for global issues.
Why do some critics argue that these organizations are ineffective?
One of the major things that make people critique the effectiveness of these multilateral organizations would be the lack of enforceability mechanisms. We look at organizations now like the United Nations Environmental Program, all the agreements and conventions that are drawn on environmental conservation but have not yet been achieved because there is simply that lack of force to enforce the agreements. That is one of the major things that make people critique the multilateral organizations, and also the questions of heightened levels of bureaucracy marred with corrupt activities. Those would be some of the reasons why there is criticism towards multilateral organizations.
How has Kenya benefited from international partnerships?
Kenya goes down in history as one of literally the only countries in the global south that host the United Nations headquarters. We only have 4 UN headquarters in the world: Vienna, New York, Geneva, and Nairobi. Kenya has drawn itself into a pillar of environmental diplomacy by hosting the United Nations Environmental Program headquarters in its capital.
Development for BRICS, because I would like to see the strengthening of the existing multilateral system with more influence for developing countries. I think from an African perspective, the major concern has to be economic development concern. And part of the method of achieving that would be regional integration. So I think expansion of global markets or market access and also regional integration are key themes for South Africa and for Africa.
We are going for a short break, and immediately after the short break, we'll be focusing on international migration, which is a topic of concern, especially for the young people in this world today. Stay tuned.
When one person is given amnesty, Congress allows a chain of migration to begin that can include not only spouse and kids, but the couple's parents and the couple's siblings and their spouses, plus the spouse's extended families. A potentially never-ending chain, all possible from just one amnesty for one person. Chain migration adds more than 250,000 people a year. Are your senators pushing for another amnesty with chain migration, paid for by Numbers USA because numbers count?
In our next major story, we are focusing on international migration. Across the world, millions of people are seeking better opportunities or fleeing crisis. But what does this mean for both home and host countries? Perspective 24's Mary Ndongo reports.
Migration is a global phenomenon with millions crossing borders for better opportunities or escaping conflict. But behind the real statistics are the human stories. Maybe the perspective 24 Nairobi.
We are joined in studio by Ms. Njeri Thuo, a global affairs and international migration expert. So my first question to you, Jerry, is what are the main causes of international migration?
The main causes of international migration in today's society are: 1, in search of employment; 2, tertiary or in search of higher education; and 3 would be migration in the form of expatriates, like moving for work.
What are some of the challenges migrants face when integrating into new societies?
Some of the most common challenges that we have facing international migrants would, 1, be, of course, the culture cost. There's a shift from your home country to your host country, the difference in cultures. So in terms of the language, even basic understanding of respected standards of behavior, language. We also have time frame in terms of the working hours, and religion. Those are some of the issues that international migrants.
How does migration impact the economies of the host and home countries?
Migration impacts the economies of the host and home countries because this is a shift of people that we're looking at from one country to another country. So definitely the economic force is going to lessen in the home country and increase in the host country.
I think that we have had many different phases in the history of migration. And for a very long time, the migrant was the person who was strong, willful, maybe an idealist, who went in search of a better life, leaving a home behind, a place to return to. The difference today is that there is also that element, the migrant, the refugee, but there is a deeper, darker story in the making, which is, for one, there is no place to go back. To keep on using the language of migration in this circumstance doesn't help. It's a quick shorthand, and it's a good word. But I think that we're seeing, in my reading, the beginning of a whole new phase that really has to do, one language I like to use is with a massive loss of habitat.
Thank you. Our final major story tonight, we focus on climate change. Rising temperatures, extreme weather and environmental degradation, climate change is no longer a distant threat. It is happening now. How are communities responding? Perspective 24's Mary Ndomo reports.
Climate change is no longer a distant threat. It's affecting our communities and economies today, but solutions exist, from policy reforms to renewable energy. This is Tiffany Munoko reporting for the Perspective 24 News, Nairobi, Kenya.
We are now joined in studio by Mr. Benson Gathu, Kikuyu Water Services Limited CEO. My first question to you, Mr. Benson, is how is climate change impacting local communities and economies at large?
One, climate change is affecting the farmers' ability to plan for their crops and also for their livestock because of change of rainfall patterns. Secondly, the effect on the health of people due to malnutrition, that is as a result of the crops that are able to be grown at a particular time. This is changing, and so it's impacting the health of the people.
What role do renewable energy solutions play in reducing climate change effects?
One, the effect of fossil fuels increases the carbon dioxide concentration in the air, which directly impacts the climate change. And therefore, when you use renewable energy, there is no effect in the atmosphere.
Are governments doing enough to implement effective climate change policies?
Yes, so far so good, but there's a lot to be done as it implements policies from the Treasury. But there's also the aspect of over-reliance on donors rather than working locally to have local solutions without over-reliance on external support. But so far so good in terms of educating the community.
Actually, we are developing a monitoring and evaluation framework to measure and be able to evaluate and identify and gain more knowledge on the progress on the implementation of our climate change action plan, which has three main pillars: the low carbon development, adaptation and resilient development, and finance. So finance is one pillar, plus we have cross-cutting issues that needs to be addressed in order to be able to effectively address this or achieve the objective of the other pillars.
Thank you. That is it for today's edition of Perspective 24. Be sure to follow us on our social media and share your thoughts using our handles, #Perspective24, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Until next time, goodbye.